Good morning. I first was hesitant to take part in today's service because, as a writer, as someone who sits in the room, I write down the voices in my head. I don't consider myself a political person. Then I thought about it. We live in a very political age, to say the least. I was shaped by the events happening in the world when I was a child. I realize I am a political person and that I am an agent of change in the world as much as I have been changed by the world. We are all political animals, whether we want to be or not. Even choosing inaction is an action. I was 9 years old when Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated, but with the wisdom of childhood, I knew that he was a great man and that he had been murdered for standing up for what he believed in. These days, I define myself as intersectional. When I look back, I see that I was always intersectional, but now there is a word for it. Intersectional means that everything is connected and that we can more easily be more than one thing at once. It also means we can more easily be allies to each other. One of the leaders I look to now is Laverne Cox. As an actress and as a now Black trans woman, she is a groundbreaking LGBTQ, lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer activist. My partner, Barbara, and I first became aware of her through the series in which she played a part called Orange is the New Black. In 2014, she was the first trans person to appear on the cover of Time magazine. She is continuing Dr. King's legacy by helping society open to include all of us, including Black transgender people. She is leading the way in helping society become a more comfortable and inclusive place for all of us. In doing so, Laverne is furthering the first principle of Unitarian Universalism, the inherent worth and dignity of every person. Another leader furthering Dr. King's legacy that I have often looked to is Congresswoman Maxine Waters. Waters is an older African-American woman who has been a fearless advocate for women, children, people of color, and the poor for more than 40 years. She was elected in 2018 to her 15th term in the U.S. House of Representatives. Congresswoman Waters represents a large part of South Los Angeles. I have long been aware of her as an older, outspoken Black woman who is not afraid to speak her mind. I once looked her up online and was dismayed at the number of racist attacks directed at her. I was also surprised, but maybe I shouldn't have been. In her statement last year for Martin Luther King Jr. Day, she wrote, "There is no denying that Dr. King believed fiercely in the power of hope, optimism, and activism, but his journey was not easy. He and many others who were determined to achieve fairness and equality for all people endured harassment and beatings, were jailed for their efforts, and lived under the constant threat of being killed. Dr. King knew that his work did not come without danger, and still he kept on in an effort to make this country work for all of us. Maxine Waters and her lifetime of work brings to mind the second principle of Unitarian Universalism: justice, equity, and compassion in human relations. Another leader that I look to who continues Dr. King's legacy is Senator Cory Booker from New Jersey. You may remember him from his 2020 presidential bid. I had long been aware of his work as an African-American man fighting for human rights. My partner and I were thrilled to learn that he is also an outspoken vegan, as well as a Rhodes Scholar, a proponent for LGBTQ rights, and is, in some people's opinion, insufferably cheerful and optimistic. In many ways, he is the embodiment of the seventh Unitarian Universalist principle: respect for the interdependent web of all existence, of which we are a part. He is guided by the words of an older African-American woman who was comforting him when he was young and in the lobby of his apartment. I had just heard about the death of another African-American teenage boy in Booker's neighborhood. The older woman, of whom Booker later said he could tell she had been through a lot, kept telling him to stay faithful. And he has through all these years. As he has said, we cannot allow our inability to do everything to undermine our determination to do something. I'll say that again. We cannot allow our inability to do everything to undermine our determination to do something. He emphasized that we are not powerless. We can join him in the sentiment of knowing that we are all in this together. Namaste.